Welcome to Clear Direction. I'm your host, Mary Lee McRoberts, and today we're going to explore the world of energy and a whole lot of other things. I'm so glad you're here. So first, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself, and then we'll get into the show and we'll take some callers. I'm an energy medicine practitioner. I'm a psychic medium. I work with energy and space. I get rid of ghosts. I help people heal. I work in businesses to create abundance. I mentor individual people and groups. I do a lot of teaching. I love to teach. I love to share this world and empower other people. Let's see, you probably want to know a little bit about me. So I came out of the world of business and I was really successful. I thought I was smart, but it wasn't that at all, really. I could read people's minds. I literally knew what they were going to say, and it wasn't like you think reading a mind, but I knew the information that was what was going to happen before it happened. And when somebody would say, we're going to deliver that product on Tuesday, I'd be like, no, you're not. I'd be in my head. I could see that wasn't going to happen. This was going to happen. So that's how I operated my whole life. It was like born into me, this connection to the other side. And I didn't know the difference. You know, it's today there's so many books and access to so much, but not at the time that I was growing up. And so I literally didn't know all this information that was pouring into me about all the people I was around and other places in the world. Didn't matter what it was. I didn't know the difference. I thought we were all operating that way. So one of the ways I explain that is if you looked at the color green, you look at it and I look at it, we both think we're looking at the same color, right? But if all of a sudden somebody explained to you, like you're talking about green and you're talking about the depth of it and the emotion to it and all these other perspectives, you then would become aware that you're seeing green differently than somebody else. But how would you know that if you didn't have that conversation? So anyway, it was like that. Some people like fall off a horse, and they like wake up and they're like, Shazam, I got it, right? I wasn't like that. It was a process. It was after I started to realize that I was observing and seeing, and I would see beings from the other side, I didn't think anything about it. I was always comfortable with it. So when I did become aware of it, then I decided I wanted to see if it could really be real. Because I was one of those, you touch it, you got to show me how it really is. So I studied quantum physics, and I am totally not a scientist. And I read and I took classes. I wanted to figure out what it is that I did and be the very best at it. And so I had a process of learning for many, many years. And now I'm in the world of energy all the time. So, and I just want to share it with everybody else. There's lots more about my background, but that's all the time we need to take today. So, unless when somebody calls, they have a question for me. So what I'd like to do is take callers, and people could call with any kind of question. Doesn't matter what it is, information you want to know. What do you want to know about the world of energy? How does it all work? Because I work in all those arenas. So I'm really lucky to get to do that. It's a privilege. So why don't we take a caller?
Hi, Mary Lee. I'm Jen, and I live in Seattle, where the sun is always shining, as you know.
That's awesome. It is shining today. Welcome. So do you have a question for me?
I do. I've lost a few people in the past few years, and I was just curious if any of them are lined up at your door to give me a message.
Wow, that's a great way to start today. Okay, so I will tell you, yes, there is somebody. And just when you start to talk, so let me tell you sort of where he is. So he just kind of not shuffled in. I want to say that word, shuffle in. I don't know why I want to say that word, but shuffled in. So literally he's like right over here. I can see him over there. This is your father coming in. Is your father on the other side? Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yes. So he's kind of a character, right? He's like so he's like going on and going on. So I'm having to like slow this down a little bit, right? so he has a lot he wants to tell you. It's like, and I think he communicates with you, or he's trying to communicate with you. Have you had experience with him? Yeah, because he's a kind of a feisty little guy, sort of. And I'm saying little guy, I don't know. He's got this energy about him, and he's kind of he's all over about wanting to. You really have. Let's see. Okay, let me slow it down a little bit. He's like, okay, I got this much time and I got to get it all out, sort of. I really like how he is. He loves you. He is so totally, I mean, I could see him just like he was right here, but he's on the other side. So this hasn't been such a long time since he crossed. Is that right?
Yeah, it was last September.
Yeah. So he's close to you, and he's really can communicate with me, which is awesome. Sometimes people aren't like that when it's been maybe that recent, but he's communicating right away with me, and he's almost like he didn't miss a lick, sort of. He's just like right here. And wanting to do every single thing he can to communicate during this little bit of time. So let me tell you a little bit about him. I like him. He's kind of not a farmer, but he's like feels like a country kind of person. Does that make sense? Yeah.
He absolutely was a farmer.
He was a farmer, so he's shown me and he's sort of a no nonsense kind of guy, right? He's so let me just slow him down. So I have to kind of go inside for just a second because he's just kind of jumping all around and he's really excited. He's really proud of you. He says that you really helped him. So when it came to be the time for him to cross, were you there at the time that he crossed, or tried to get there in time for him to cross? Was there something about that last bit of time?
Yeah, I was with him for a couple of weeks. He was kind of in a coma state, and then I had to come home. But my two sisters stayed with him until the end.
Right. So you came home and you missed that tail end of it, because he was talking about you were there to help him, and he really appreciates that. And there almost was a thing about him slipping away after you were gone. Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was like, okay, girly. He's like, okay, girly, Yeah, he's wonderful. I just love him. So he's around you. He feels like he's still alive to me. No matter how the ending was for him, he wasn't in any kind of, there's nothing that he's holding with himself that has to do with that, the last time in his life. So he's like, don't even think about that. And I don't think you do, actually. I think you really look at him for the life that he was. Yeah, he's almost like he's like a dad, but he's like a character. Was he a character, sort of? Yeah.
Oh, he was wonderful, and he was funny and full of heck, and yeah.
And
I'm
had
actually
a lot
wearing, I'm actually wearing his watch right now.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, now
work, but...
that's awesome that you did, and he's sort of like, well, don't jump the gun on that, He's just like, that's awesome. I like him a lot. He's just really happy, and he's really happy for you. So he was worried before, and he's saying to me that all this is good. Like he felt like things got to a place with you, like your life was taking the upswing, and you're in a good enough place to have been able to deal with his crossing. And he says that you like memorialize him somehow, like you bring him to the attention of people. He likes that. It makes him feel good. So is there something that you do that you communicate, or you bring how much he meant to you, like you bring it to the world somehow? You talk about him in some way.
Yeah. First of all, I gave his eulogy, which was one of the toughest things that I did, but I had a lot of fun with it. And also, I talk about him all the time. I use him as an example of just being a good, decent person in the world. And so absolutely, I talk about him all the time.
He's wonderful. I like him. I wish he was still here. I'm sure you do too. Right? Plus,
yeah, me too, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. He really is awesome. I don't see anybody with him. That doesn't mean anything. but he's come in independently on his own, and and he really wants he's just all about this experience and just having this experience be with you. He's not sharing it with anybody. He's totally like, he's wonderful. I like him. What a wonderful experience to have a dad like that. He's really grateful for you. So as far as anything moving forward, let's see if your dad wants to talk to me about anything. So he has full confidence in you. He's not worried at all. He thinks that you're going to be making really good decisions going forward. And I think that and he's saying that you do have a sense that he's around. There is communication, and he's kind of giving advice just like he did when he was here. So he's helping you with all this. Yeah.
I have no doubt of that at all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
He's awesome. I just love him. Boy, I didn't get his name. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. What is his name?
His name was Dale.
Dale. That's awesome. I like him. Thank you. That was great. I was really happy to get to see him.
Very, very much.
Okay, thank you. So that was amazing. He was like, boom, the second she came up, he was right there, and he's really feisty. So one of the things, so that's mediumship work, right? And he actually is saying if she kind of wouldn't have jumped the gun, that he might have been showing me his watch. He's like, he was just moving around so much. He was really an energetic kind of guy, but I loved him. He was like that kind of dad you would want to have, with a great personality. Yeah. And it was I think there's been a big shift in her life around him crossing. And I think it came at a time when she really, it helped her step into who she was and becoming in her life. So that's really awesome. So when people come in like that from the other side, they come in all different kind of ways. They can pop in next to somebody, and it doesn't matter if I'm talking to the person through a camera like this, or if somebody calls me and they're in another part of the world. Sometimes, and you can tell how close or how far away. Like he was dressed, and he was in casual kind of farmy kind of clothes, but he wasn't out in the field when I saw him. So I knew he was in the country. So they will show us what they look like through their clothing, but sometimes they might not show me what they look like at all. What they might be doing is showing me the information about them, like the sense of them. Sometimes they'll flash a picture for me, so I'll be looking at a person who's on the other side, and then they'll flash a picture of something that I know in my life to help me understand what that person was like. So it might be that I will see somebody exactly the way he looks. And so I saw her dad the way he looks, but he could have made a decision not to show me that way, and he might have come in like with a pitchfork for me to know he really was a farmer. There are different ways that we get communicated with from the other side. So it's an awesome experience. And there's some more about, so information is continuing to come about her, since even though she's gone, sometimes that will continue to happen. And it's like he really has her in his heart. I'm feeling some emotion now. So it's, oh my goodness. So I hope if she's still watching this or connected, he loves her so much. He's just making me want to cry right now. He just, absolutely, it's like his little girl is what he's talking to me about now. So maybe he waited until she was gone because he, stiff upper lip or something. I don't know, but it's awesome. Anyway, whew, that's great. Okay, so it's time for us to take another caller. Oh, so what is your name and where are you from?
Hi, Mary Lee. I'm Renee. I'm calling from Mercer Island, Washington.
And do you have a question for me today?
I do have a question. I have a big question. I would like to know what happens when we die, and it's a two-part question. Why is it you think that it's more difficult to connect with recently passed people?
That's an awesome question, Renee. And especially in view of the question that just came before us. So,
Right.
Oh my gosh, I could talk forever about dying. So let me go to the end of the question and then I'll back it up a little bit. So sometimes it depends on how people cross over and how they're able to communicate with us. So this is all how I see it, right? So if say somebody wasn't a good communicator in life, right? Then they're not, when they cross over, they're not going to come in, if they were taciturn and stern, they're not going to come in and be like, hey, whoo, they're just not like that. They will have the same personality and the same abilities when they're on the other side. When somebody crosses, so if somebody's not a great communicator, it might be more difficult for them to communicate from the other side. It might take longer. Reasons that it can take longer have to do with how they may have crossed. So if it was a difficult, an illness or an accident, sometimes if it's an accident, they don't even kind of know what happened. It's like there's a time period that they have to get acclimated on the other side. I know that sounds sort of crazy because people think, oh, you're just, you go, you're in heaven and everything's perfect. But there isn't that. There's a time that you go through where you're kind of deprogrammed, sort of like when people come back from war or something, and they have to have an adjustment. There's an adjustment sometimes for people on the other side. And when I see people cross over, I see them, oh boy, this is a big subject. So I will see the other side actually create the kind of energy that that person needs to see to be comfortable as they cross over. So if somebody's scared and they're afraid of dying, and they may see their loved ones coming to get them. And most people will see loved ones coming to get them. But there might be more people for that person just because they're nervous and they're afraid. It's energetically created for us, the best scene for us to get into, to feel safe to go to the other side. This is like a really big subject. Oh my goodness. So I can so when I see, and then I'm going to ask you a question about that. So when I see people cross, you know how people think, well, there's hell, and heaven, right? Literally what I see is I see the emotion that we created for every other person when we're in this lifetime, we get to experience that. So when I see what we call hell, it really is just, you get to feel all the pleasure and joy that you created for other people. And you also get to feel the pain and that other people felt by your actions. So if somebody if somebody led a life that really was out of balance, they're going to get to experience all that feeling that other people suffered through with the experience with them. So I see reincarnation. Well, let me go back and ask the question. So is there somebody in your life or that you're asking me about who isn't communicating, or is this?
Not someone in my life, not someone I've actually ever met. Sister of my daughter's good friend passed on the operating table during a minor surgery. And my daughter's friend wanted me to see if I could connect with her. And I had a difficult time doing that.
Yeah. So as you're talking about her, she's coming in to me, right? So but she's not, so it shocked her. This is like not supposed to happen. It's kind of like when I was saying like a car accident and the person is just like, oh my gosh, they don't know. It like happens so fast that they don't even know what happened to them, sort of. So this feels to me, so what I'm getting from her is like, this was never supposed to happen. It's almost like a joke, and it's a horrible joke, right? It's like she wasn't in a place that had particular risk, right? It's like one of those, and so she literally, she's just like blown away with it. So there's a process for her to get acclimated on the other side, and that's where she is. When I see her when I connect in with her energy, she just is they're having to like, kind of get her, she's a little bit upset about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you take a walk and you drop off a cliff, sort of. It's like that, yeah. So there's a process that she's
Well,
going through.
yeah. And what surprised me was I expect people to cross and it all makes sense. But that wasn't what I saw. She crossed and actually connected for a second and let me know she had to take care of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It was interesting. I was surprised.
Yeah, well, and yeah, because everything didn't get, how we plan a trip and we get everything going. So when people get ready to die, there's a process that they go through, even if they've have Alzheimer's or whatever it is, whether it's illness, but there's an emotional and spiritual process, and for people on the other side too. So when something happens like that, that's totally out of whack. It can be that they have a lot of things, like she's saying, a lot of things to do. So I want to say something to you, because you have a woman with you today. So we're talking about people on the other side. Isn't this interesting? And she feels like so I'll tell you what she feels like. She was with you when you came on the screen, and she's, I think she's your mother, but she feels like a matriarch of a family. So she's like bigger than a mother even. So is your mother on the other side?
My mother is on the other side, and she is very much a matriarch.
Yeah, she totally is. And she's right here with this conversation today, but she's like bigger than life, that's why she feels like she's a mother, but like she's a mother and a grandmother and all these other things, right? She's totally,
Yep.
and you don't be fiddling with sort of the way that it's supposed to be. Is that her personality?
You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Exactly.
Yeah, she's making sure that we're doing all this right, both of us, you and me. I can feel her. She's watching me too.
I can see her standing there with her arms crossed.
Yeah.
Total.
She's amazing. So she's with you all the time, and you know that, right? Of course you do. Yeah.
I'm very grateful. And I have to say, I really like what you said about hell, that we have to feel the pain we inflicted. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
So good.
It is. There's so much about the other side. Oh my gosh. There's just, so this mom of yours though, she's like, I'm not done yet. she takes care of everybody. She takes care of everybody. And so people who cross over traditionally, as I'm, and I can see that you know a lot about this because you're very familiar with your mother, and so she's got a really good relationship with you. People have a tendency to think if somebody crosses over, then they come in and they're like a dead relative, and pardon that statement, but literally they come in and they might talk to us about our life, or they just want to make things right. She's a lot more than that for you. So she's like a teacher. She's an evolved soul on the other side, and she's with a lot of wisdom, and she's also a healer. So there's healing. She has something to do with helping teach you how to heal people, like with your hands, like hands-on healing. Is that make sense to you?
That's what I love to do. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like Shazam, like she literally, so she's sort of the wizard. She's saying, I know she's using that word. Isn't that strange? She's the wizard. And she probably didn't I don't know if she used a word like that, but she's showing me that she really is that person, the master healer. And she's working through not just you, but others and it's more than a family. It feels like not like a dynasty, but I don't know the right word. It's like when families in the olden days, they were like it's like you could put them all in a tent or something. It feels like that, like your family it's a real strong connection that you all have together.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel about it.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Anything else you want to know?
No, that was more than I hoped for. That was
That's great.
just what I needed to hear. Thank you.
So thank you very much for calling. You're an amazing healer, an amazing
Thank
healer.
you.
Yeah,
You're amazing too. Appreciate it.
thank you. Oh, so that mother of hers, she's like a mother, grandmother, matriarch. And when I saw her, it was almost like like if you put her in big robes or something, kind of. She had that kind of energy. So she's a healer, like a hands-on healer. So one of the things that I do is I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I teach people how to hands-on heal. And I could see with Renee, let's see, how can I tell you how you see that? So I could see that she was a healer. I could see that she was somebody literally not, I mean, certainly an emotional healer, but like a physical healer, like she has the ability. So I was just being shown that. How could I, and I want to, one of the things that I really want to do is help educate people with how you all have gifts like this and how to be aware of those gifts and open them up for you. So I could just see with Renee, I would see a picture actually that showed me out of history, a hands-on healer person, and then I just saw a glow around her. And it was almost a glow like you would see with Mother Mary, someone like that. I saw that glow around her, which told me that she is that kind of a person, that she does healing on people. And there's another piece to this woman, Renee, which is awesome. And that is that, so here she is, somebody who connects with her mother all the time and has that ability. And she's asking me a question about something that was new to her. And that's awesome. That's one of the things we get to learn all the time. Like I get taught from the other side all day, every day. So every time I work with a client, they're teaching me new things about how to do what I do. And it never ends. So anyway, that's it with Renee. So do we have another caller? Hi, so what is your name and where are you from?
My name is Sharon and I live in the Mukilteo area.
Oh, that's wonderful. So that's outside of Seattle too. That's awesome.
Yeah, by the water.
Yeah, wonderful. So do you have a question for me?
I do. So in my life right now, I'm looking for a new love and venturing off. And as a mother of a young daughter, I really want to try to create a good, healthy, loving relationship. I want her to see that. And there's a part of me that gets nervous because of old patterns and maybe just being attracted to the wrong guy. And I want to really try to break that so that I can really show my daughter what it is to have a loving, healthy relationship with a man.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I am so proud of you. That's a wonderful question and a wonderful thing to want to do. Just the consciousness, right, of knowing that somehow you got to the place that you did in a certain way and being able to look at that and look at your child and think, I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that I teach her a different way. So I commend you for that. That's a wonderful place to be. So when you were talking, I was having fear and anxiety coming up in my stomach. So my body is always giving me information about the person who I'm reading or connecting with, right? And so I was being shown that there is fear about this, and not just, and it's old fear. It's so you're a powerful woman. You're like making what do I want to say? Like when it's like jump out of an airplane but nobody had to push you, sort of. It's like you're like jumping out, right? You're really making change in your life, which is awesome. They keep showing me the airplane, so I don't know what that's about. Are you a pilot?
No, I just jumped out of an airplane. It must have been last June.
Oh my gosh, I know. So that's awesome. So they're showing me the air. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm a pilot. I'm like looking at airplanes all the time, right? So that's awesome. So it's like you're stepping into your power, right? And you're having and joy. And I'm seeing lots of joy in that too, which is, it's like scaring me half to death, right? But I'm going to do it, man. I'm just going for it. So that's really awesome. But there's a backside to this. You've really walked a walk and had a lot lot that you've had to go through. So what comes up when you first started talking is I see somebody on the other side, and he's a father, and he's wasn't a healthy person in your life. And so whenever we're challenged and we have relationships in our life that don't work, like love relationships or other kind of relationships, there's always an original wound that comes ahead of it. That's how I see it anyway. So what I'm seeing, and it's really interesting because he came up just after you started talking, and he's somebody, he knows that he's not welcome. That there's a lot that he has to do to make things right with you. And he's willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. And he doesn't expect your forgiveness yet, although he's hoping someday. Does that make sense to you?
I probably assume that you're talking about my father.
Yeah, this is your father. This is who came
I was able to talk to him here on earth before he passed, to confront him, which was very healing for me. But you are right, he is not welcome.
Yeah, so he feels, and he knows that he hasn't earned it, and he hopes. So this is a real interesting thing to see what I'm seeing now with him, because this isn't what I would see very often. He hopes that he can earn it, that he can change enough to be able to, to be in your presence. He feels like he doesn't even deserve to be in your presence. And he's really sorry. He's really sorry. So I just want to say to you that I'm so proud of you that you've had the courage to walk through this, and that you're healing yourself and creating a world that's different for your daughter. And it's such a journey. It's like every time we move into that place where we touch that wound, it's painful, and I know there's a part of you that's like, I just want to be done with that. But you are, and you will. Honestly, you are, and you will. The ability that you have to look into yourself and see how you want to be going forward is huge. And you're not going to carry this always. It was significant, the experiences that you had. And literally, it was almost a methodical like taking your power away. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was methodical. It was almost, when I see it, it was not a healthy way to be. And I mean, I just am like, God bless you for being who you are today and having come out the other side of it, because it really, it was just a really unfortunate situation, more than unfortunate. And I'm really sorry for that, for what I see with that. But he knows, so he's way back in the back, but he just knows. He knows that if he's just going to keep working on himself and doing the best that he can. He really knows what he did. He does now. And I know that's hard to even kind of imagine, but he does. And so it's almost in a, I don't want to say like he's having to be taught. He's on the other side. He's having to be, he's got a lot of work to do, and healing work, to be able to come into a space and be with you, and he knows that. So I honor the courage that you have and the journey that you've had, because you've gone a long way with this. So I see a beautiful daughter. So I see people on this side and the other side, and so I can see this beautiful daughter like running around. She's almost like a maypole or something, and she's like a kind of girly girl a little bit. Is she like that?
She is. She's got a girly side, but she's she reminds me so much of me, that free spirit.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adore her, but
Yeah.
she's a force to be reckoned with, for sure.
Yeah. So isn't that awesome that you're creating that in her, that you're creating an environment for her to be a powerful girl. And every step
Yes.
that you see her take, you get to take a step along with her. So she's growing from you, and you get to grow from her. And
Oh, I
you get,
definitely heal from her,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So you're an amazing, powerful person. I'm so proud of you. I just have to say, you've done so much. I really am. I just think it's awesome, and more power to you. And this will all get resolved um, with your dad over time, if and when you decide you're ready to do that. So no pressure on you. It'll all take its own course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So she was beautiful. So we all have, when I work with people, I usually will see the original wound, or it's a series of wounds, or it's a pattern of. Sometimes I'll see a piece that'll show me what the whole thing was. So literally, everything that could have taken her away from her power was done when she grew up, which means that when she gets to a place where she wants to choose to have a partner in her life, to get married in this circumstance, she would gravitate towards somebody who wouldn't treat her, wouldn't be a match. Like the part of her that was wounded, that didn't have deeply her own power, then would match up with somebody who would want to power over. And so that's how a relationship like that gets put into place. And so what has to happen then is you want to go back and heal the original wound and release the energy. So when I talked about energy healing, you open somebody up, they allow you to open them up to start to release that energy. So energy stored in the body is emotion. So we store the joy and the happiness, and we store the pain and the fear and the anger. And it's releasing that from a person's body then allows that stored energy to leave, and it puts them in a place of balance where then they can start to heal from old wounds. So when people go to therapy, they'll talk and talk, and not to say, and therapy is certainly excellent, but if you can have somebody work energetically to open up and release that old energy, then boom, you can just, you don't have to spend years doing that. So this gal has done some amazing things. I love the airplane thing. I thought she was a pilot. Anyway, okay, so there's more I could tell you about that, but I think it's time to go on to another caller. Well, we have
Hello.
another caller. So what is your name and where are you from?
I'm Carolyn, and I'm from Bellevue, Washington.
Well, hi,
And
Carolyn. Do you have a question
hello.
for me today?
I do. Thank you so much. I have two children, a 7-year-old boy and a 6-year-old daughter. And my question today is, I believe my daughter can see the other side, but I'm not sure how to communicate with her because I don't see what she sees.
So-
And it's at nighttime
Okay,
when I
keep going.
It's at nighttime when she says, I see God, or I see grandma or granny. And I'm like, wow. And I just don't know how to communicate or what to say more to her.
Okay, so she says, I couldn't hear the words. Does she see relatives that have crossed over? Who does she see?
She says she sees God and she sees granny.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for her. So Carolyn, I love that you have this daughter with this ability this openness to the other side. So and that you want to make a difference and help her be comfortable with this, and it's just the coolest thing, because parents now, I get a lot of parents who really have circumstances like this where the kids are talking to grandma. They're saying, grandma came in and talked to me last night, and the parents like, well, grandma's dead, so no, she didn't. So back when I grew up, that's what people said. You know, they just like shut you down. So I'm so pleased that you're open and that you want to create an environment for her that's really healthy. So there are a lot of things about this. So sometimes kids can get scared, right? Sometimes beings can come in that scare them. Sometimes it's grandma, it's relatives on the other side, and that doesn't scare them. They get to have communication and love, and it's important to support that. It's awesome that she's seeing God, and I have kids say that, you know, that they'll experience God and Jesus and different beings, which is wonderful because they're all loved. From the other side, all the kids are. So when kids are born, they're like, we're all like fully connected to the world of energy. And what happens is, as you know, this is the real world, or the physical world, and so parents are charged with, you know, teaching us how to operate in the physical world. So the first thing we do is, you know, teach them words and teach them letters, and this is an apple and that's red, and all we do is teach the physical world, and we let go of the world of energy, which we're all a part of. We're all energy beings that just came in to have a physical form, and that can be a big thing for people to really wrap their head around sometimes, but it's really true, as I see it. So with your daughter having so meanwhile, we teach kids away from the world of spirit instead of incorporating and allowing the people who are talking to them and sharing their life with them to be a part of their life. So she's got a grandma coming in, and does she, and this happens at night. So it's important then with her to always talk normally about it. So, you know, did grandma come in last night? That's awesome. What did she have to say, right? Talk to her just like you were talking to her about what happened in school today. So when I see her, I can see her with like an open window to the other side. That's how she looks to me. It's like and it really isn't a window. It's just like I see like an opening like this to the other side. And there's a little bit of her that is kind of afraid, not knowing about what to do about all this. So she's in control. So it's really important to talk to her and say, you get to decide when somebody's going to come in or not, and when you want that to happen. We're all totally in control of it. So back in the very beginning, when I was working on a man, like a 50-year-old man, and you know, I just connected into him, and boom, all of a sudden I saw on the other side of him as a little boy, like 3 or 4 years old, doubled over sobbing. And I saw a car, like an old-fashioned, like a Pontiac, one of those big old cars, and his dad. I knew it was his dad driving away. So that little boy was having his wound at that moment that they were showing me, and I literally doubled over in pain. I couldn't even breathe. So that night I said, and I'm telling you this because this is important for her, I said, okay, I will do this work, but I can't feel that I can't suffer the suffering of the people that I'm receiving, connecting with, and receiving information. And instantly, it's all gone. I feel in my body, but I don't suffer with it. So we get to say this. They just don't know, you know. They don't know because it's in spirit there. They're not in physical form, so they don't know. Sometimes they can scare us or they jump in too fast. Sometimes I'll have somebody come in and boom, they'll be right in my face like that. And I'll say, whoops, back up, you know, and it's because they don't have quite the measure of everything. So she gets to be in charge. She gets to say when she wants somebody, or if she doesn't, if somebody pops in and she doesn't know who it is, she can just say, I don't want you to come in here. You don't get to come in, you know? And once you tell them that, and they literally, because she's going to experience, it feels to me, more beings than just those two. And I actually feel like she maybe has already.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Because she'll come at nighttime, she'll come in or out of the room and she's gone. I just put her to bed, like, and then 5 minutes later she says, oh, I had a bad dream.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder, ooh, is something else happening, or I don't know what's going on, or
Yeah.
you know, I know she hadn't been to sleep because, you know, I just put her to bed really a couple minutes ago. So
yeah. So she has
I
that
get concerned and I want to.
She has that
I get
window she has a window that's open to the other side. And
Okay.
so she is having dreams. and there's access there. So there's a little bit of energy work, I think, that needs to be done with her to sort of kind of put that into balance a little bit. I think it's really important for you to talk to her about when she's having dreams. She can decide who gets to come in and who doesn't come in. Ask her what the dreams are. Ask her who's coming in and what that experience is.
Okay.
So that she will tell you, you know, because it's one thing if it's grandma, it's something else if it's sort of a scary dream. It feels like okay, so now I can tell you. So the rest of the piece just came in for me. So there's open access in her room. There's a place in her room that there's some open access from the other side. So this is a whole different discussion. There are portals that can kind of come in from the other side, like openings, like we have that's why I saw like at the window in the beginning and then it became that hole. There are openings that come into this reality from the other side, and there's access in that room of hers, so that needs to be closed. So you need somebody like me or somebody who works with the energy of buildings to close that portal for her. They're just coming and going, and they don't have any business coming and going so much. So that's what's happening with that access. And I don't, but I can see it in her bedroom, and that's what it is. And it's not a big thing to close that. That way, then she won't have people coming into her space all the time. Yeah.
Oh, great.
So that needs to happen. I'm so glad that you asked that question, though, because so many. You know, that can sound kind of woo-woo-y or a little bit strange. It's not anything to be afraid of. It's just something, just like if you had a leak under the door and you'd want to get what do you call it, like a runner to put under it so the breeze comes in. That's just what's existing there, and that just needs to be closed off. And then talk to her about her being always feeling safe and comfortable, and that she's always in charge of everything. She's got connection to the other side. So Carolyn, when this little girl grows up, she's got connection. So she's one of those people that we talk about when they talk about how she's got connection. So she's able to communicate with the other side. Yeah, she's a really lovely spirit. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yes, thank you very much.
Is there anything else that I can answer?
I think that's great. I really love that. I want to make her feel safe, and asking her and making her in charge. She is one that likes to be in charge, and so for her to have that control and to say that, I really appreciate that. So thank you.
And with her too. So I'm just being talked to a little bit more. So it's to always tell her to trust her intuition. Talk to her about intuition. Is her spirit from the other side talking to her? Her guide. She has guides on the other side, and they're talking to her, helping her, guiding her. And so it's to pay attention always to her intuition. So as you're teaching her, say it's a day and she's going to decide, does she want to play in the playground or does she want to go to the ball field? So say, what feels the best to you? Ask her to go into her body and feel what feels good to her. That's where we get our intuition, is in our body. And get her used to being in touch with her body. That'll be really helpful for her. Yeah.
I love that.
Great.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that was awesome. There's so much with kids. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so a portal, it literally is an opening in a space, and that can come in. So you know how people, and there's not a ghost in there. There's no place to go like that. So it's interesting. I've never seen like horror movies or any kind of movie. I've never seen any of those things, and I never understood why I never did. And it's because I don't have any preconception about any of that. I have no fear in the world of energy with spirits. If you took me down to 2nd Avenue in Seattle at 10 at night, I'd be like, I'm not getting out of the car. But in the world of energy, there really is nothing, there's really isn't anything to be afraid of. There are things that are out of balance, and there are all kinds of things that are, you know, in balance and out of balance, but we truly get to control our own experience, and we get to say yes and no. There are times when you need to get sort of a professional to come in, so that closing that portal in that room would be one of those times. So that's just an opening that popped up in that particular room. And I've seen that. I worked in a house one time where nobody went to the downstairs of the house, and that's where their family room and their TV room was, and they were just like creeped out, you know. It was horrible energy. So they had me come over to the house, and literally there was a big one. This one that she's got is unique to her, but this one was, it was like a big opening, and like all these people were just like coming in, and they don't know from the other side that they're not supposed to do that, you know. And so I closed that opening. So just like if I patched up the wall, right, closed it, and I turned around and I walked into the other room in the basement, and boom, they popped right up there. They were just like gophers, I think, you know, or like underground gophers, and they were just like, okay. And I'm like, no. And you have to talk to them like that. It's like, no, you don't. You're out of here. And I closed them, and then they've been gone ever since. So, and now that people use, you know, the downstairs of their house is their favorite place. There are things like that, and that's when you need somebody who's a professional to come and do that work, just like we would if, you know, the plumbing was clogged or something like that. But it's important for it not to be the biggest mystery ever. It's just working in the world of energy. If we all, yeah. So I want to say something else that isn't even on topic. So if you have a business, and everybody's under a deadline, and everybody's upset all the time because they don't know if they're going to have a job tomorrow, and nobody can do anything quite right. Literally, the energy inside that business is pure fear, right? That comes from all those people. So it's like that's when you want to have somebody come and clear all the energy out, so that then the business can find itself in abundance. It's the same thing. It's like we've been having conversation with individual people today, and I don't know why I'm being called, but I get talked to all the way through all of this from the other side, and they're saying it's important to say this. So there's somebody listening out here who is supposed to hear this information. So we create, when we have, energy is emotion, right? And when there's a repeated emotion that's strong over a period of time, it literally will create its own energy in a space, and it won't go away. It doesn't go away. So if somebody lives in a house and they fight in front of the kitchen sink every night because her husband won't help with the dishes, and she's mad, and so she's angry, you know, and after 5 years they sell the house, that field of anger is sitting in front of that kitchen sink, even though the people leave. It's an amazing, if everybody could see energy, your life would change. I mean, truly, your life would change. You would not associate with some of the people you do, and you'd be paying attention to what's around you. So say with that house, the next person buys it, they're just happy people. They come in, and they're in there cooking in the evening, and they're starting to snipe at each other, right? And it's because they're standing in that anger that was left from the other people. That's why they have people clear houses before they want to sell them. And when you buy a new house, it doesn't have to be that. It can be anywhere you are. It's important to feel the energy, pay attention to the energy. And even if you're not trained to do this, there are things that you can do in your own to help open up and clear energy in spaces. So this is totally not on topic, but it's really important. So with this little girl, there's energy in that room of fear, right? And so she's kind of getting into a habit, and I didn't talk to her mom about this, but if she's listening, getting into a habit of not sleeping at night. And it's disturbing her digestion is what it feels like to me, because I can feel that. So I'm like in her body right now, her digestion, and making her nervous, right? So this needs to get dealt with. And so if there's a way for the caller to connect with me, I can tell her more, or she's probably listening. But anyway, that's the daughter. So I guess it's time for me to wrap up. So it's been amazing to be here with you today. And it's a privilege to get to do what I do, to be able to connect. And the highest Oh my gosh, what can I say? In my life, the thing that makes me the most grateful for is to be able to help teach other people how to access this themselves and how to be connected with the other side. And I love that you came and joined me in this time today, and hopefully I'll get to see you in the future. Thank you.